Assalamu alaikum everyone. So we are discussing IGCSE and O-level Pakistan Studies, History and Culture of Pakistan, commonly known as history. That is paper one of Pakistan Studies and O-levels. This is one of the most important topics because the students take this exam before any other subjects. Pakistan Studies will be discussing the decline of Mughal Empire today. We all must be aware of what Mughal Empire is and how this empire moved towards a decline. The reason being, in Pakistan, Mughal Empire, these topics are taught in middle school history, and a lot of you guys must have studied this before. Even if you have not, there's nothing to worry because the O-level syllabus is very precise and it just focuses on the decline part. You're not supposed to know the entire history, not even the biographies, the timeline of the rulers and stuff. We'll just be focusing on the last bit, that is the decline, the factors and the reasons causing that decline. I'm sure people who have studied Pakistan studies or who are studying Pakistan studies will be aware of the paper pattern. And if you're not, I will be explaining this paper pattern of Pakistan studies paper one history in detail in next classes. But for now, you should know that there are a set of questions comprising of 3 questions, 4, 7, and 14 marks. We will be focusing more on the 14 mark questions because they are most important level marking questions where you can gain a lot of marks and secure a very good grade. Although, yes, we will be focusing on the 4 and 7 marks as well, but 14, the 4 most important. Why? Because of its significance, because of its weightage in the paper. After every topic, after making notes of every topic, we'll basically go on to the past paper questions, and I would suggest you all to also practice these questions because attempting past papers, practicing more questions is the only key to securing a very good grade. All right, so just giving you a background of decline of Mughal Empire. You know, when dynasties they stand for a long time, and Mughal Empire being one of the most notorious civilizations of subcontinent. Why? Because of the developmental projects, the innovation in art, architecture, and culture during the hundreds of years where the rulers of Mughal Empire ruled. And but when dynasties come in, like they rule for a long time, they basically ignore some of the very important aspects. This is the background that we're discussing. Strength is a very important factor. Why? Because when you become so strong, you think that you'll rule forever, but that's not the case. You become so powerful, you expand your territories, you try to gain influence over the regions nearby. So imagine this map that I'm drawing. This is the Mughal Empire. This is all the land that the empire has. Think of it as a map. Okay, this is the entire territory, and the surrounding territories. Let's say this empire. This one part of the subcontinent is Mughal Empire under the blue lines, and now the red, the orange lines denote the other territory side by side. This is the subcontinent. Okay, so now what happens is when you become so powerful, you try to expand your control. So Mughal emperors, they try to gain other territories, this green territory. They'd want this territory to be part of their empire, this yellow one a part of their empire. So what happens is when they conquer those lands, they fight with those people, they gain influence of the territories. So this entire area, Mughal empire plus all the one that are just colored green and the one that are just colored yellow, all of these lands become a part of the Mughal empire. Yes, all of this becomes a territory, single territory. So this is when you expand yourself, when you gain influence over other lands, when you become so powerful, when you become so strong. There comes a point that you think that the empire, that your power will be there on the face of the earth forever. But you tend to ignore some of the very important points. That is that you need to also learn how to basically sustain that power. Yes, sustain is the correct word. You need to sustain your strength, but that doesn't happen. So yes, now we will be discussing some reasons that what were the main factors that were ignored by the Mughal emperors. How did they become so powerful and ignored the important things that caused them to decline? One of the very important reasons is succession disputes. Okay, you must be aware of the term succession. Succession means, let's say there is a ruler. When that ruler dies, the people associated, the children of that ruler, the relatives, the nearby people, they'll try to take over the throne. It's all a game of power. They'll try to basically take the place of that ruler, and become the ruler, become another ruler. So let's say I'm drawing a figure. Ruler one hai, ye ruler two hai. Ruler one is the king. Ruler two is the child of that king. That child will, when that ruler one dies, that child will try to take over that throne of his the parent ruler. Okay, so so because of this power, let's say if there are 2 to 3 children, they'll fight for the power. There's a very common example. Uh, Akbar was a very important ruler of Mughal Empire. Akbar had 3 sons who fought for the power. When Akbar died, his 3 sons tried to take control of the empire. They fought among themselves, and they like they even go to an extent that they try to kill each other. Okay, so I'm erasing the diagram. You're going to focus on the content. The content is that it is all the game of power. People try to, when a ruler dies, the people, mostly the children, they try to succeed. They try to take the throne, and this all causes conflicts. Now, why are these succession a reason for the decline? You need to connect all of this with the question. That is, why did the Mughal Empire decline? Okay, so the conflicts, it rises conflicts, wars, peace and stability of the region is hurt because you indulge yourself in so many internal conflicts. You waste resources. One of the very important factors that when you engage in wars, you will spend money on the resources, the military weaponry, the training of army, soldiers, hiring more people. So you're going to be wasting resources on some of the most useless things. Imagine you're fighting within your own land for power, whereas you are at that same time you're so vulnerable to foreign threats. Imagine ये कि आपके बाहर से भी अटैक्स हो रहे हैं, आपको उनको डिफेंड करना है या आप अपने आप को डिफेंड करते रहेंगे. तो ये है ना, आप अपने आप को डिफेंड नहीं कर सकेंगे. Why? Because you're involved in your internal conflicts. 100 million, let's suppose a budget. I'm just right. This is just a very raw example over here. Let's say ये आपका budget है, ठीक है, country का budget है. Around 50 million उसमें से you're spending 50 million on these wars. You're left with 50 million. Like let's say वो जो 100 million था, that 100 million was just for the development projects. आपने 50 million तो spend कर दिया, तो you're just left with half of the budget. So that means you're compromising on very important points. You're compromising on the budget, you're compromising on the infrastructure and the projects that the treasury was supposed to be used on, but you're using it on these useless conflicts, causing the decline, causing the treasury to be empty, causing internal conflicts, hurting the peace and stability of the region, and becoming more weakened. Because when you will be so destroyed, so disorganized, so disunited, you'll be hurting your own unity, and the foreign regions, foreign forces will look at this as an opportunity to attack at you. So this is what happened. This is what exactly happened to Mughal Empire. There were foreign. We're going to come to this point, how foreign forces they tried to conquer it as well. Okay, point number two. Point number two is British. British. How did this one factor of British entering India weakened the Mughal Empire? This is by far one of the most. This is the most important reason. Why? Because British basically saw that the subcontinent was so rich with resources. It had the trade, the cotton industries, the cotton farms, the agriculture, itna fertile land tha that all of these European countries, most modernly British, they were so interested in India because of its wealth. They wanted to trade. So initially, they entered India for the trade. They signed a treaty with one of the Mughal emperors. Kyunki they had to trade with it. You need to know that Europe at that time was going through an industrial revolution. Industrial revolution ये होता है कि they were establishing their industries, technological advancements हो रही थी. So they said कि we'll trade. Let's say they signed treaties. Treaties is a set of rules जिसमें हम trade करेंगे. Let's say Britain है, then this is India. So they were like कि we will export our material to you and will import material from India to our country. So this is what trade is basically. They'll send their newly made products because of that industrial revolution to India, and then they will try to they'll in exchange get some of the very important resources from India. So this is what their initial intentions were. But gradually, when they got involved in India, to an extent that this sock, it's so resourceful, it has so many like the strategic importance of India was like the one of the factors that attracted British in the subcontinent. Okay, so next is that trade gradually um, changed their intentions and made them more interested in India. Okay, that they came to a point that they over exploited the empire. Over exploitation का मतलब ये कि they got involved in the policies, in the politics, in the internal matters, because they thought कि why not just capture the entire land? Why just trade with our stuff and this is like what they thought at that time. Okay, we need to conquer this entire wealth. So they gradually took over the entire subcontinent. You don't need to go to in so much details at this point. Why? Because the EIC, East India Company, and this entrance of British is an entirely different topic that we're going to be studying later on. But for now, just focus on the point that why the entrance of the Britishers caused the decline of Mughal Empire. That is just one. The reasons are I've written the points in front of you. You can note them down. That they got interested in trade because of the wealth. They were more interested in the subcontinent because of its strategic importance. They got involved in the policies. They overexploited India because of its wealth expansion, and they finally conquered the subcontinent. So all of it started from one thing, that was trade. The establishment of East India Company. You don't need to write this point down at this point. We'll come to that later on. But yes, all of it started from a treaty. One treaty that gave them a permission to trade with India, and then that treaty took them to an extent that they captured all of the India. So this is what happened with other forces as well, not just British. French were also there, Dutch were also there. We'll come to that point as well, how other forces were basically involved. Okay, you need to know one more thing, that India was Mughals were pretty weak in terms of military and war tactics and stuff, because British, I just told you that they went through an industrial evolution. They had all the latest weaponry, all the modern weapons, and well-trained military, whereas the Indians, on the other hand, they didn't have those advanced weaponry, those modern weapons to fight against the British. So this is also an important reason that Indians couldn't withstand the strong foes that were the British. They couldn't match the level of that the force. All right. Okay. Moving on to the third point. Uh, Another reason for the decline of Mughal Empire was loss of power. Okay, so loss of power, you can understand it by imagining that when you become so powerful, you become so strong that you think that your power will continue forever. You become so relaxed in terms of the policies. You don't revise those policies. It's very important to revise your policies with time. Okay, so this was one thing that caused the Mughal Empire to decline, their ignorance towards the revision of policies. I'm giving an example. Let's say the succession disputes. Okay, what happened? Let's say Emperor A, made a policy that whenever a ruler will die, his child would take over the throne. Okay, now this policy, let's say, went really well for a couple of years, but later on, when the succession disputes were on rise, taking an example of the Akbar, he had three sons, they fought with each other for the throne. So अब यहाँ पे आपको पता लगता है कि नहीं, the policy isn't working, it's causing more conflicts than the solution to one problem. It's more problemsome. So there you need this, like, you understand the need. There's a need to revise that policy. कि अब ऐसा नहीं हो रहा, अब implement नहीं हो सकती. Policy made hundreds of years ago cannot be implemented after those 100 years. It might be for that specific period of time. So you need to see how to revise your policies according to the time frame, according to the needs of the current time. So this is what happened. Because of all of this, the emperors lost control. They became so weak that even their courtmen, even the courtiers, used to assassinate their own emperors. There's a very common example of Alamgir II. Alamgir II was assassinated by his own courtmen. So see, यहाँ तक बात आ गई थी कि the people were assassinating their emperors. Defense, security was so weak. So these were some of the things that were some things that had to be focused by these Emperors. Okay. Number four. Reason number four for the decline of Mughal Empire was European forces that wanted to attack, that were so interested in invading the Mughal Empire. Again, we've just studied British. Europeans, by Europeans, I mean, you can also categorize British in this term, but French and Dutch mainly, because India was so rich and wealthy at that time in terms of the agriculture, the trade, and all these natural resources, that French and Dutch wanted to trade with India. So they became involved the same way as British were involved, but yeah, they couldn't take over, they couldn't colonize India as British did. But yes, they were also an external threat to the Mughal Empire. They just like they were attacking from different sides. This was also, you see, when you're facing so many attacks from different sides, Europeans bhi hain, sorry, French bhi hain, Dutch bhi hain, British bhi hain, har koi attack kar raha hai. तो और तो they become so strong if you look at them as a group कि आपको हर तरफ से अटैक हो रहा है, तो आप किसको डिफेंड करोगे, किसको करोगे? Your military is already so weak. We'll come to that point. So these forces were so strong that the Mughal Empire, the emperors, the empire of that time, it couldn't withstand their strength. Number five. Fifth point for the decline of Mughal Empire is the dishonest military. Okay, so what do I mean by dishonest military? So what happened was, okay, it is very important to train the military to have a unity amongst the forces. But this wasn't the case. The military, the forces were so disunited that they focused on their personal interests more than the defense of their empire. Most of the military leaders, they used to get bribed by different enemy forces. The enemy forces used to um, promise them huge sums of money, and they used to take that money and leak out all the information they used to have. So this is the dishonesty of military, that you become so, like, you become disloyal to your own military, you become disloyal to your own forces, and you get bribed very easily. So this bribery is the first factor. We'll come to the details and more examples of how the military leaders used to get bribed in chapters after this, like Mir Jafar and Mir Sadiq. There's this. Yeah, we can come to these examples after that. So they used to leak out the information in turn of the money they used to get, the resources that they used to get. So when your own leader will be leaking out the information, so your force will become weak, very weak, because even if you're so strong in terms of resources, even if you have a lot of weapons, even if you're so well trained and have great tactics, but once the tactics are out, they're out. There's no way you can defend yourself. So this is what used to happen. The military leaders, the people who got dishonest, they used to leak out the information, they used to get bribed. And because of all this, the Mughal Empire became so weakened that they used to lose most of the wars. They couldn't even withstand the blows of the enemies of their level. So ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रीजन है कि डिसलॉयल्टी के साथ डिसऑनेस्टी है, और इसी तरह से इससे होता ही है कि आपका डिफेंस वीक हो जाता है. योर डिफेंस इज एट स्टेक, द डिफेंस वाज एट स्टेक एट दैट टाइम, और एक्सटर्नल अटैक्स इंक्रीज हो जाते हैं. व्हाई? बिकॉज देखो, एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होती है कि व्हेन यू आर योरसेल्फ नॉट यूनाइटेड, the external forces, they look at it as an opportunity, they attack you, and the reason is, and what happens is that you get defeated very easily. So summarizing this, bribery, the emperors used to get, not the emperors but the military leaders used to get bribed, leaked information, external attacks, or pair defeat. Sixth reason, collapse of administration. Collapse of administration से मेरा मतलब ये है कि administration is basically how you manage your empire, how you manage the internal matters, the politics, the policies, and all the internal stuff. But what happened was that their administration became so weak that an emperor gradually lost control. इतना ज़्यादा expand हो चुकी हुई थी territories that didn't know what was happening in the other parts. They became so corrupt they used to prioritize their personal interests before the national interests. तो यही होता है, जब करप्शन होती है तो फिर तो यही होता है, आपके फिर अपने जो इंटरेस्ट होते हैं वो चेंज हो जाते हैं. तो अच्छा, अब एक और ये यहाँ पे रीजन ये आती है कि obviously when you will be like you'll not be spending the resources in the proper place, तो वो wastage होगी ना. You're being corrupt, you're using that money for your own stuff. तो उससे यही होता है कि the important budgets okay development projects पे जाने होते हैं, तो things they don't move in order. आपका सारा law and order खराब हो जाता है. Another important point कि expansion थी ज़्यादा हो चुकी थी. Mughal Empire was so expanded by that time, yeah, and that was a time when the communication was so weak. Let's say this box is the entire Mughal Empire, and this small box over here is where the emperor sits. Okay, now this other part, the rightmost past part, the emperor wouldn't know what's happening over there because of the weak communication. So weak communication and weak control. आपको जब पता ही नहीं होगा कि आपके दूसरे पार्ट ऑफ द टेरिटरी में हो क्या रहा है, तो हाउ विल यू एडमिनिस्टर दोज प्रॉब्लम्स. तो उससे क्या होता था, द प्रॉब्लम्स यूज्ड टू रिमेन एज इट इज. मतलब कोई सॉल्यूशंस नहीं होते थे. दे यूज्ड टू जस्ट build up and become more troublesome for the emperors. तो जब ये एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इतनी वीक हो गई, कंट्रोल इतना वीक हो गया, मिलिट्री वाज ऑलरेडी वीक, there were so many internal conflicts like the succession disputes, तो कोई resolution नहीं था. So that is why it caused a decline. Reason number 7 was pleasure seeking. Okay, this is the last reason, very important. That pleasure seeking is when you spend resources on your comfort, on your extravagant lifestyle, on your pleasure. Okay, so extravagant lifestyle का मतलब ये है कि you become so used to of the comforts other than the necessities, the comforts, okay, that you like, let's say clothing हो गई, your empires हो गए, आपके बड़े बड़े temples हो गए, the meals that you eat, so you spend all of that money on this extravagant lifestyle. I have very good examples over here. Okay, the Peacock Throne was an example. We'll come to that. Peacock Throne, you can search it on Google as well. कि वो कितना expensive Peacock Throne बना था. It was useless. Like why do you need a throne? Honestly, there's no need of that. एक empire पे जो already इतना decline पे हो, your military is so weak, your control is so weak, your administration is so messed up, and then you're spending money on the thrones and making Taj Mahals and making so many extra buildings and stuff. And there was also another example. Akbar used to have 100 dishes at one meal. So just imagine an emperor having 100 dishes per meal. So all of this, the money used to get wasted on these useless things, meals, the infrastructure, the useless infrastructure. For example, the Peacock Throne. And what happens after all of this, the budgets, they get allocated to the most useless things. Another example, Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal wasn't a necessity of that time, but it was just made for, it was an important landmark, a monument of that time, made without I don't think there was a need for that at that time of, because वो जिस time पे बना था, was already Mughal Empire इतने decline की तरफ था. You could spend that same amount to that same money, that's the resources that you used to construct these stuff to some very important things. आपका your developmental projects, your healthcare, your education, the science and technology पे focus खत्म हो गया था, art पे, architecture पे, सिर्फ इन चीजों पे सारा फोकस था. तो दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस. प्लेजर सीकिंग, आपके सारा रिसोर्सेज आपके अपने पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट पे जा रहे हैं, तो फिर जो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट होते हैं ना, वो फिर साइड पे होके रह जाते हैं. So because of all these external expenditures, useless expenditures, the treasury was almost empty. Now you need to link this up. ये सारी reasons, तो हमें पता है how to link these reasons with the question that we are attempting, or the question or the points that we are writing down. So we're talking about the decline of Mughal Empire. How did pleasure seeking contribute to the decline of Mughal Empire? तो हुआ ये कि ट्रेजरी गॉट एम्प्टी. ठीक है, अब ट्रेजरी एम्प्टी होने का मतलब ये है कि आपके पास रिसोर्सेज और कम हो गए. अब ये सारी रीजंस, इफ यू लुक एट ऑल ऑफ दीज रीजंस नाउ, दे आर सो इंटरलिंक्ड. डिसऑनेस्ट मिनिस्ट्री है, कोलैप्स ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, European invaders हैं, lack of power है, British की entrance है, then there's succession disputes. So all of these reasons are so interlinked that succession disputes also cause internal conflicts, and the waste of treasury and resources. British का invade करना was also exploitation of resources. फिर loss of power का मतलब यही था कि you weren't focusing on the important the defense tactics of the empire. European invaders, again, that means that you were so weak internally that these external forces were involved. These external forces wanted to take advantage of your weaknesses and invade you. Similarly, this lack of administration, क्योंकि already the conflicts are internal plus external. You couldn't even manage yourself. How would you manage your external problems at that time? And then yes, pleasure seeking, because itne sare conflicts चल रहे थे, you needed resources to defend yourself. But now again, all of those resources were going just for your personal benefits. The emperors used to spend these resources on their extravagant lifestyles. So all of these reasons, these reasons combined to basically cause the decline. Coming towards a question now. This is the question I've been writing down, that succession disputes were the main reason for the decline of Mughal Empire. So this is a 14-mark question. And for now, we are not going to study how to attempt a level marking question. I will explain the pattern of this question in detail in the next lecture. But now, since we are done with this first topic, we should know how to just write down the content. We'll figure out how to arrange that content in order according to the level marking. So level marking question, how to attempt a level marking question, a 14-mark level marking question. We'll do that in tomorrow's lecture, in the next class. But now, for now, just write down the content. Well, अब इसका मतलब ये है कि in a 14-mark question, just for now, only you need to write down 7 points, 7 reasons. Succession disputes, one of the reasons has been mentioned in the question. तो अब आपने लिखना करना ये है कि you need to write down 7 reasons. So अभी हमने सारी 7 discuss कर ली हैं कि the 7 reasons causing the decline of Mughal Empire. You write down them. You write these reasons down in an order, or you also write down the succession disputes. You describe them. You explain them, and then tell which one of the reasons was the most important one. सारी लिखने के बाद, सारों की explanations लिखने के बाद, you need to tell which reason was the most important reason for the decline of Mughal Empire. You need to make your own analysis. खुद इनको पढ़ें, खुद इनको देखें कि इनमें से सबसे important कौन सी हो सकती है. Analyze their consequences, their effects. Okay, so this will make this process a lot easier. So yes, this is it for now. We will be doing level marking questions after every topic, and I'll explain how to attempt level marking question in the next lecture. For now, just study this content. Abhi content आपके पास होना चाहिए, because once you have all of this, we'll study how to arrange that content according to a 14-mark question and the guidelines laid down by Cambridge. So this was it. IGCSE and O-Levels Pakistan Studies Paper 1. You can stay tuned for more lectures coming on this. Thank you so much.